Welcome back to Canon Unscripted, where we explore the stories and insights of some of the most fascinating people in their fields. I'm your host, Mason Higa. This is our show by Canon USA, and it's an opportunity for us to sit down with some of our favorite photographers, filmmakers, and creatives to talk about what makes them click and how they've pushed their passions, which evolved into their careers. And of course, since this is a Canon show, we talk about the Canon gear that they use to bring their vision to life. To find out more about all of the products, please go to usa.canon.com/unscripted and subscribe to our socials to keep up with the latest and greatest. Today on the show, we have Canon Collab Ambassador Rory Kramer. Rory has traveled around the world documenting the heart-pounding excitement of concerts, showcasing the artists and musicians in all their glory, but also behind the scenes. I had an incredible time during our conversation and thankful for Rory coming on to the show. Without further ado, here's my unscripted conversation with Rory Kramer.
So going in, I had the confidence, and the two people that interviewed me, they're like, well, we like you, and now you just got to meet Justin. He'll tell you in 30 seconds if he likes you. And I was like, okay, that's intimidating. And long story short, for like 4 months, it was like, can you meet here? Can you meet there? Can you meet here? Can you meet there? And like, I was like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Rory.
Hey, how you doing, Mason? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You know, I was really excited to have you come on to the show. One, because the energy that you bring, you know, when I look at your content, the photos, the videos, everything on social, as well as your past work, you just seem like you're always having a good time.
Pretty good actor.
Yeah,
no, I am. I am
Yeah.
having a good time.
Right.
You know, I was really excited to be on this. Met you a few years ago, and you and Tony both just great energy, and you guys are fun to be around. And whenever I saw you doing a podcast, I remember I was like, yo, when do I get to be on this thing? So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And as we start, like any good story, maybe we should start from the beginning, right?
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, if you don't mind, to tell us your backstory, you know, growing up.
I was always just, growing up, I was always just using my imagination from a real young age. My mom always encouraged me to use my imagination. And I think that advice really just kind of stuck with me like throughout my life. I've always tried to play in my imagination and use my imagination. I think that advice like really helped me just look at life differently, and just having the support of like a parent, like my mom, you know, like use your imagination. Like it really opened my eyes to, you know, the ideas in my head to try to bring them to life as I got into more artistic stuff. And growing up, my mom, she was like the first documentarist, if that's even a word, documentarist that I was exposed to. She was always documenting our family, whether it was just through point and shoot film photos or a big shoulder VHS camera documenting our family. And like recently I've been digitizing all those old films, and just like it was really cool to just, one, be able to look back at your life like that through photo and video, but also to just see how she documented our family. And she was very good, not only at just like capturing, but she was like, here goes Rory. Like, you know, like she would just be like narrating like what I was doing or what the family was doing. And then she would ask us questions. And I think that was that kind of just being exposed to that and having her interview me, it kind of just sunk in. And then now as I document artists, I see myself like kind of like doing that myself. Like, hey, Mason, what are we doing now? Where are we at? And like she was the original inspiration for me once I picked up that camera of hers. That was the first camera I ever picked up. I was 15. I was starting high school, freshman, 1999. Shout out the 90s, best era ever. I was obsessed with this band, Blink-182, growing up. Discovered them in 6th grade. Saw their music video for Damn It in the electronic section. It was being played on the TVs. And my friend Ross and I were like, what is this? And like from that moment, like I was obsessed with Blink, and like we were the first people in our town to know who they were, and everybody was like, dude, you're obsessed with this band. And they came out with this home movie on VHS. It was kind of like a tour video of their like life, and as they started getting success, it was called the Urethra Chronicles. And I remember watching that video, and I saw a lot of myself and my friends, like just very similar, like humor, personalities, and that inspired me to take my mom's VHS camera and start filming me and my friends doing skits and just literally filming ourselves, and like, because we thought we were cool. And that turned into like, I think the next year Jackass came out on MTV, and then that really opened my eyes to like filming me and my friends skateboarding, doing skits and stunts.
You got a new word now, skunts.
You know, like we were doing stunts back then.
Yeah.
And then, so I filmed basically almost like pretty consistently, almost every day after school for 4 years. And then being a fan of Jackass, I really gravitated towards Bam Margera. And he had his own movies that he made, the CKY series. And I found out, like, from watching that, like, he edited the videos, he was filming the videos, so I would try to figure out what cameras they had, and I wanted to buy those cameras, and then I wanted to get those editing programs he was using. So when I was a senior in high school, I decided to teach myself how to edit. And this kid I was in a band with, Brian Clark, his older brother Kevin, lent me his desktop Sony Vaio computer that had like a 9.6 gigabyte hard drive. I mean, talk about small. I mean, you shoot
nowadays.
You shoot a minute of video now, and that's filling up the drive.
Yeah.
Needed to figure out how to hook up the camcorder to the computer, because back then, the way you got footage on was you hooked your camera up and you ingested it by literally playing the video back, playing the tape, and capturing it onto the computer. And so I learned that you had to have FireWire to hook up your camera. And so I went to Best Buy and bought a FireWire port and took apart his computer and put in a FireWire drive. And so it was really like a lot of do-it-yourself kind of things and like learning on your own. There wasn't YouTube and Google to just, hey, how do you capture video? And so I was teaching myself that, and I bought like a $100 program called ULead Video Studios 7, I think. It was the blue one. Taught myself how to edit, and I made my first movie. It was very much like a Jackass, CKY, like skate, skits and stunts. And it was called Losers. That was like my group's like name. And the first movie was I Hope You Die, Aria. So yeah, real clever, Rory.
That's real. That's, you know what? It is.
Because I thought like I Hope You Die kind of played into the crazy stunts we were doing, but the ... Aria was like our humor in with our skits and stunts. And so I made a video, and back then you could I had a data CD, and I burned a data, like the file onto the CD, and I brought it into school and homeroom, and I put it in the computer, and then you could drag. It was almost like a data CD was almost like a thumb drive. And I played the video to like, I showed 2 friends in homeroom, and the next thing I noticed, the whole homeroom was crowded around my computer watching it, and I could see that people were interested in it. And this one kid was like, hey, can I buy a copy from you? And I was like, boom, light bulb, like, yes, $5 tomorrow. And so I went to Walmart. I bought a pack of data CDs. I burned a bunch of copies. I brought them to school. First day I sold 9 copies, made $45. And to $45 to a high school kid in 1999 that would have been 2003. I was a senior when I made the videos. $45 like 22 years ago was
Good money.
a lot of money, especially to a high school kid, and especially like it didn't feel like work. It didn't feel like I was, going and doing actual labor. It was like I'm hanging out with my friends, having fun. I just made $45 off this. What? And so I ended up selling 100 copies that year at school and got into a lot of trouble just because the video was pretty, like, how do you say? Not school appropriate. And like the principal was like, you can't be selling this on school grounds. And like I got called to the office with my friend Ross, that the kid I was talking about that I discovered Blink with at Target. He and I were kind of business partners his dad was a lawyer and he set us up with an LLC, and the LLC was called What You See Is What You Become LLC. Mm-hmm. And it's actually still my LLC today. I've just changed that actual name. I've rebranded it, but it's still been the same LLC since then. So I've been a company now for 22 years. So he and I got called to the office, and the principal was like, you guys can't be selling this on school grounds. And Ross, he was just like, Mr. Stewart, have you seen the movie? And he's like, well, no, Ross, I haven't. Do you want to buy a copy? And I was like, yo, you're hilarious. You're literally trying, like, we're getting in trouble for this, and you're trying to sell the principal a copy of the movie because he hasn't seen it. It's like, because Ross was kind of like, well, how can you say it's bad if you haven't seen it? Like, you need a copy.
Yeah.
But if you want a copy, it's $5. And so that's just who we were. Like, we pushed the boundaries, and we believed in ourselves, and they were trying to just control. They were like, you can't sell it to anybody under 18. And I was like, well, to see a rated R movie, you have to be 17. And so that's who we were. Like, we were just like, we weren't like just being like, we weren't like, there was pushback with us. And I think that having that kind of mentality helped me get to where I was, because like, hearing no, or like, having dreams of where I'm at today, like if I would have like listened to people that said like, yo, you're an idiot, there's no way you're gonna do this or do that. Like, I just believed in myself, and like, I didn't take no for an answer. And I think that having that mentality really early on helped me. And I think that like came from like how I was raised by my parents and my older siblings.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a theme, because like that story, I know I've heard about it, I've read about it before, and that's why I wanted to start with those years, is because of your ingenuity, like you said, like pushing the boundaries, like you wanted to experiment, and communicate and share with people, and also make a buck.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess it was like I was ahead of my time and ahead of the curve at that time, and but just seeing that I can make money off of something like that really inspired me, and also just like showed me that, like, because at the time, like you went to college, you got a degree, you got a job in that field, and that was your life.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever want that. I wanted to, be happy, and I knew that like that kind of life wasn't gonna fulfill me. And it wasn't about money, it was about being happy, because like a lot of my teenage years, I was depressed and like thinking about like, wow, the rest of my life, I'm gonna have to work a job I don't enjoy. And once I was exposed to like making money off something I enjoyed doing, it really made me hungry and want to go after like where I'm at today. And my dad, like, he used to always, all the time growing up, he'd be like, at dinner, Rory, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I hated that question. I would like he would say, "Oh, I'm making Rory uncomfortable. He's squirming," because he'd be like, "Rory, where do you?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm like, I don't know, Dad." And my dad wouldn't let me out of it. He'd be like, "No," he'd make me answer, and I think that played a huge part in making me think about the future, because I was a very still am very in the moment kind of person, and so it made me think about the future, and so knowing that I dreaded the future and dreaded that question, and then once I saw that I could make money off of that, it all kind of started to make sense. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time he did ask me that question, and I was just so sick of the question. I was like, I'm gonna have my own TV show on MTV one day, and he was like, "You little smart ass, little smart aleck." He was like, "Can you be serious for once?" And I was like, but the thing was, I wasn't answering the question for 5 years. Now that I actually had a TV show and it was on MTV, that was 15 years later. I was thinking 15 years down the road. But at the time, it was kind of it was very he had every right to say be serious, because that was a ridiculous statement to say, but I ended up making that happen. Yeah. I remember when I got married at the rehearsal dinner, my dad gave a speech, and he goes, "Yeah, the next crazy thing that came out of Rory's mouth was I'm gonna have my own TV show one day." And then he's like, and guess what? 2017, he ended up making that happen. And it was, my dad was a huge inspiration for where I'm at today, and just the mentality and the work ethic that I have. And so even though I hated that question, it did make me think about the future. And I envisioned having a TV show, a Jackass show, that inspired me. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And
dare to live.
Right? Dare to live.
Dare to live.
I just believed in myself. And, I really put in the time and the effort to make it happen. And it took a long time. It took 17 years for me to get that show. And it took 15 years for me to be able to make a living off videos. But I just kept doing it because I loved it. I loved, ever since getting my older brother's attention was everything to me. It was especially at a young age, you idolize your older siblings. And yes, even you, Katie. It's my sister. She's gonna be like, what about me? But yeah, my older brothers, they were my first kind of heroes and people I looked up to. And, I was always like, "Hey, watch me, watch this." And once I figured out I could record myself doing something, and then I could just cue it up and be like, "Hey, watch this." It was, because before it'd be like, "Hey, come watch me do this." And it'd be they'd lose interest after I couldn't do it, on the third try, and it's taking me a half hour. Now I can go out and it might take me an hour, 2 hours to do what I'm trying to do, but now I have it on video and I can cue it up and I can be like, "Hey, watch this." And then they'd be like, "Yo, that was cool, man. I can't believe you did that." And it's that made me realize being able to capture someone's attention. And I just really became addicted and gravitated towards holding someone's attention. And so that mentality with my photos, videos that I've made, I've always had how am I going to capture someone's attention? Mm-hmm. And so I've always kind of used that as the inspiration of when I approach a video, okay, I think this video is cool as I'm editing it, but what is going to make the person, what's going to move their emotions in this that makes them feel connected to the video. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started to put an element of vulnerability into my videos. Maybe it's a whole montage of me doing cool things, but at the intro, I'm going to have this little voiceover where I'm talking about what I'm going through in life. That way, when the person watches, they're like, "Oh, I'm going through something like that," or "I feel like this." Now they're hooked to watch it, and then they watch the rest of the fun, interesting, crazy shenanigans, stunts that I'm doing. And
from high school, you did a little bit of water adventure, kind of skiing and stuff, and then you also like moved out to LA. You know, like those years, right? How difficult was it for you to figure out what you wanted to do?
It was tough. So I grew up going to this lake, Clear Lake. My grandparents bought a cottage on this lake. And so every summer we would go up there and spend time, but we also lived in southern Indiana on the Ohio River. So we would go out on the river and also go up to lake, do a lot of water activities. My dad was big time skier. He was barefoot water skier. And so like he was teaching us those things, and I loved being on the water. It was like just feeling free out there. It was so fun. And my older brother was into wakeboarding, and he was really good. So that inspired me to film him and make videos of him, and I got into it. And so I moved to Orlando after college and wanted to get into the wakeboard, wake skate scene. And like that was at the time, like that's what I wanted to do for a living. I wanted to go down there and work. And I worked for Scott Byerly, who is the godfather of wakeboarding. And he at the time had this company called Volume Wake Skate Videos. And every month, 2 months, they would put out like a video magazine, like a DVD, where it would highlight up and coming riders. And it was kind of like a skate movie, but for wake skate. So it was a wake skate film, and people would have their own sections. And I helped film and edit some of those videos. I worked on 2 videos, and but after like 10 months, I saw like they weren't able to pay me. They didn't make that kind of money, and it showed me like, okay, maybe like I'm not gonna be able to make a living doing this. And so I moved home and was super depressed, and I was working the same job at the Clear Lake Marina that I had all through college. And it was a great summer job, but now it was like, yo, like I'm out of college, like I need a career. I was super depressed, and some friends that I went to college with were living in LA, and one of them posted a Facebook video of just a little Saturday day party and like what they're up to, and it just looked so fun. I hit up Andrew. Shout out Andrew Gant, DVD authoring. He was like, I was like, yo, I'm going to come visit you this year, like for sure. And he was like, dude, we got a roommate moving out. We got a room opening up. Why don't you just move out? And I told my dad, and he was like, I think that's a great idea. I'll drive you out to LA. So my dad drove me every mile to LA in the 1997 Toyota Corolla, and it was jam-packed with all this stuff that I thought I needed to take out there. And moved out there, and I was also very big into acting. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my skits, I was like writing little like short like skits that I would act in, and I wanted to become an actor. And so when I first moved to LA in 2009, like my goal was to become the next Brad Pitt, you know, and
striking resemblance.
Yeah, you know, I got more of a Johnny Depp look, but so I made and I knew I needed a reel, and I wasn't in very much stuff, so I wrote a lot of skits and had my friends film me, and I wrote skits that I felt like this kind of role is what I'm good at. So I'd write things that catered to what I was good at. And I made this acting reel. It was so bad, but I thought it was so good. And now if you watch it, I'm going to show it to you. It's so funny. It is hilarious because if you know me, it's so funny watching me try to be like serious. And yeah, so I needed money, and it was tough. Like, you know, I thought I was going to move out to LA because I grew up in a small town, Tell City, Indiana, and I was popular in high school. My town had 9,000 people. Everybody knew me. I played quarterback on the high school team, played basketball, played golf. You know, because of my video, like a lot of people, everybody knew who I was. And like, I saw like how easy it was to be like well-known in that town. I just thought LA was going to be kind of the same thing, and quickly realized like no one cares about you, and it's not that easy. And it's also very expensive. And the little bit of money I had saved up was going away quick. And I was like, yo, I'm going to need a job. Like, I ain't getting those big acting checks yet. And so my cousin's friend, he knew this girl that was working at this company called Premier Digital Services. And they needed like a 2-week intern. So I was like, all right, I'll do that for like 2 weeks, get some money, get a little more nest egg, some more cushion. And that turned into 2 months. That turned into a full-time job with health benefits, salary, and vacation days. And that ended up becoming 4.5 years of my life. And I slowly started to have that 9-to-5 that I didn't want. Mm-hmm. And the job was super chill. But it wasn't for me. The job, my boss, Eric Anderson, he started this company. He was one of 2 guys that worked at Apple that started the video iTunes store back when you could buy like movies and music videos off the iTunes store. And he was getting crazy job offers, and he was like, okay, if people think I'm worth that much, like obviously I'm worth something. So he went out on his own, started this company, Premier Digital Services. And what he was doing, I was like, what are we doing here? I'm just sitting in a chair watching movies all day, like these foreign versions of like Back to the Future. I'd watch Back to the Future in French, Back to the Future in Japanese. And he got these connections of all the major studios, and they allowed him to digitize essentially their analog version, like a VHS. He would ingest it, make it a digital file, and we would prep it for digital distribution to places like Video iTunes Store, Hulu, Netflix. This was all like, he was a part of the transition from Netflix sending you DVDs in the mail to you watching it on your TV to now you watching it on your phone or your iPad. And so I worked at this company that helped that transition to how we consume movies and TV today. Mm-hmm. And that's how it went from 2 weeks to 2 months to 4.5 years, because like it quickly changed over. And like he went from, like I was the 9th employee, and it went from 9 employees to like 250 to multiple offices. And so yeah, but I also again found myself depressed because I was like, yo, I haven't got my Academy Award yet for acting. And so he promoted me one time, then he de-promoted me because I wasn't passionate about the job. I did the work and I did good, but I wasn't like leading other people. Like I was just there to like essentially do the work, get my paycheck, go out and keep making videos in my spare time, try to find an audition. And so the passion was in there, and he recognized that. And he took me out one day and we went for a walk, and he's like, I'm demoting you. But he's like, you're a good editor. Like I've seen your videos you make. And he was just like, I can't believe you can't find like freelance jobs, like doing that. And I was like, I don't know how. Like back then I was like looking on Craigslist, like looking for editing jobs. And it was so hard to like find work that catered to what I was good at. Mm-hmm. And that year at the holiday party, we were at a hotel up here in LA. And he was like, my goal this year is to find a way to utilize your talents before somebody else steals you. And I like hearing your boss say that like was just like, okay, he does see a value in me. Mm-hmm. And he wants to try to like tap into that. Yeah. And like that encouraged me and made me feel good about like myself and like the skills that I had. And less than 6 months later, somebody stole me from him because they saw that. And I remember I called him the day after my 30th birthday, and I was just like, hey, Eric, it's Rory. I wanted to talk to you about something. We can just play the clip.
So the reason I'm calling, since like you don't live out here in LA anymore, I wanted to talk to you first. I'm gonna be putting my 2 weeks in tomorrow.
He was like, okay, where are you going? He thought like a competitor was stealing me. And I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere else. Like, I'm going to be going out on my own. Like, I'm going to be working for this DJ Blau. And he was like, you know what? I'm really happy. He was happy for me because like what he said when he demoted me, like I'd found that thing of like that freelance job of like what I was good at. Mm-hmm. And he was excited for me to go out into the world and just to have your boss that like when you're leaving, like be excited for you and support you. I think that like gave me, you know, just the reassurance that I was making the right decision.
Yeah. And so like that again, is like what part of the timeline, you know, the theme of, okay, you know, where's the struggle, where's the ups, where's the downs, and then you progressed. Then again, fueling the fire for you.
Yeah.
Right?
I think having like those experiences, like that job, and not to throw shade at that job, but like what I was saying and like what he said, like the job wasn't for me. It was a great job and I could have done it the rest of my life, like he said, but I had my goals set on something else for myself. And I think having the experience of working something that I didn't want, when I got my opportunity, it just made me work that much harder to never have to go back to something that I wasn't passionate about.
And then, so what was that next? So as you mentioned, working for DJ Blau, how did that come about?
So
again, juggling your 9 to 5, right? Because you were still doing the DVDing.
Yeah. So in I think like March or April, Blau's manager Ross Fessenstein hit me up and was like, hey, can you go on tour with this artist that I'm managing for a week and make a music video of your time on tour? And I was like, yeah. And so I took my last 5 vacation days and I went out on the road with him for a week. And the first show was at Columbus, Ohio. I think it's the place called the Bluestone. And my brother lived in Columbus at the time, so he came to the show. And I remember that first show, just like the energy of the people, the music, and just being able to capture exciting content nonstop for an hour and a half. Like, I remember I asked Justin, that was Blau's first name. I was like, yo, do you ever like crowd surf? And he was like, yeah. I was like, yo, what if we both crowd surf at the same time and I get this shot of you like crowd surfing and it has this crazy perspective? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And we did it. And the shot was exactly what I envisioned in my head, even more so. And when we got back on stage, he hadn't even seen the clip and he just grabs me and he was like, yo, I'm taking you everywhere this summer. And I was like, I'm gonna have to quit my job because I have no vacation days. And so like that job like encouraged me to like having him believe in me and say that he wanted to like book me for all his summer shows. Like I like did the math and I was like, okay, if I work this many days, I'll cover my rent and all my expenses. And then I'll have the rest of the month to work on my YouTube videos and, you know, make stuff that can hopefully lead to this TV show one day. Yeah. And so I always like, even though I was doing what I loved with an artist, I still had these dreams of my own. And so I was, at the same time, I was making videos for artists, but I was also making my personal videos. So I had this great balance of being on the road and I would capture clips of the artists. I'd incorporate them into my personal videos and we would be at this rock quarry in Indiana and I would cliff jump and I would take those clips and I would put them in his video, but then I would rework them into my own personal video. So I was making content for people that I was getting paid for, but then I was able to make personal videos for myself. So it was it really just exploded for me at that time.
Yeah, and the lake life videos too. You're still making those, right?
I mean, I haven't made one since 20. Well, take that back. So there's lake life 1 through 6.
Yeah.
So people say I haven't made a lake life since 2020, but I did make. There is a lake life that I made in 2023. It was called Lake Life: The Year of Maturity, and I didn't want to call it like Lake Life 7 because it was something. It was still at the lake and it still had the lake life vibes, but it was all those other lake lives. It was a lot of just skunts and it was a lot of just like that kind of lifestyle, the lake lifestyle. But when my dad passed away, he and my mom used to open up the lake and get it ready for the summer so we could come enjoy it. And so that year I took on the responsibility of filling his role and helping my mom open up the house. And one day I was like doing the work and I was like, I need to film. I think I should film myself doing this. And I cut together one night, like when I was at the lake, what is Lake Life: The Year of Maturity? And I like showed it to my mom and she was like in tears, and like I was in tears because it was like, it finally, it clicked. Like, yo, like this video is why Lake Life 1 through 6 exists, because like my parents put in the time and effort for us to come enjoy the lake life. And so to have that experience of like now filling my dad's role and doing that work, I was like, I think this is a perfect lake life video, probably the most meaningful one of all, because like I finally, it like came full circle for me and it made me make sense of like how I was able to even make those in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
And it was so beautiful too to have those complimentary clips of you and your father.
Yeah.
You know, to show like you now doing the work too. So yeah, it's pretty moving, and I'm sure your mom appreciates it.
Yeah, and it was just like one of those like, especially in the lake community, like people that had been watching my lake life videos that their family has a lake house on a different lake, and so many people were just like, "Yo, this like really hit home because it's like." Made me think about my parents and like I'm in a similar situation, or like, wow, I've never really thought about like the work that goes into how we get to enjoy the lake life.
Yeah.
And so it was a cool video and special to me. And
yeah. I mean, well, all those videos, I was watching all of them, you know.
I mean, yeah, like the lake life literally served as like essentially my reel for like when people saw it, they saw what I was capable of doing with a camera, editing, and also just being able to make interesting, engaging content. And they were just like, he's doing this for himself. He can do this for my client or my artist or for me. And so a lot of people saw that. And I mean, perfect example is Justin Bieber. I showed him Lake Life 3 one time on a plane, and he was like, yo, I'm going to go there one day. And I was like, yo, I'm going there this weekend if you want to go. And then that weekend came, and he bought a plane ticket and flew commercial to my lake and spent 4 days over Labor Day with me and my family. And yeah, so it was like Lake Life really, I think, like is one of the reasons I'm even sitting here and you're talking to me. You know, it allowed me to help build my career.
Right. It was a consistency, like, you know, throughout, you know, it's like seeing those videos, seeing those experiences, and again, making something, and I'm not trying to, but it was like something out of something so quote unquote common, you know, again, of like just people having fun, just being on the lake, you know.
And that's what Justin said. He was like, yo, this is real life.
Yeah.
And like, he was right. It was authentic moments of me, my friends, my family, just living life. Yeah. And I always try to tell people that they're like, you know, like, how do I get to where you're at? And it's like, I don't have the secret answer. And like a lot of how I got to where I am was one, putting in my time. Like for me, it took 15 years to get my break. And I think once my break came, because I loved making videos, that I was just consistently making them for 15 years, that when my break came, I was prepared and ready for it. Because I think if after I made that first Losers video, if an artist would have came, I probably wouldn't have been like ready for it. But now, like, I've made these videos consistently, and now I've perfected like my editing to a place of now I have this opportunity. Now I can just stay up all night, make this video, and here's a product for you to put on your Instagram or your YouTube. And so I think, like, I always would tell people, like, you know, what advice? I was like, you know, like, look at your own life. And I was like, you know, you want to be making videos for this artist, you know, use what you have. Like, you have access to your family or your friends. I go, maybe make a piece about your friend that likes doing this. And I go, you have access to these people that have stories as well. Build these videos around them. So you have like an example when you go to want to shoot this artist, be like, look at this video I made. And here's a video I made of, you know, Mason that likes riding motorcycles. And now they see this story, and now they can envision, you know, either themselves or their artist in this video. And it's like, wow, like, okay.
Yeah.
Could you make something like this for me? And so I think it's like, you know, I use what you have access to and what you know to be able to showcase what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Because anybody can just be like, hey, Mason, like, I can make videos. Like, let me make videos for you. And you're just like, why should I believe you? If you have something tangible for them to see that showcases what you want to do for them, I think that's the best way to help get you that job.
Right. And then plus all that practice, you know, all that work in that sense, right? It's
About
like,
being proactive.
yeah.
Yep.
And so to go back to then now being on the road, right? You're on the road, you're living this dream. How did it make you feel like to have this kind of break at that point? Just like that, even if it might have been small but big, you know, because again, it's like you're doing it now, right?
Yeah, it was very similar to that homeroom experience where someone wanted to buy the video. It was now I'm making a living. I'm like actually surviving, paying my rent off of my creativity and what I'm capable of doing through photo video. And it was just so freeing. And it took so much stress off of my shoulders, my plate, just took it out of my life and allowed me to just like create. And like, I was hungry to create, and I was like excited to create, and it didn't feel like work. That first day when I worked for Blau, it was right at the time Instagram allowed you to make 15-second edited videos outside of the platform. It would show up in your camera roll in Instagram, and you can upload an edited video outside of the app. And I just made a 15-second recap of the concert in Columbus, and Blau looked at it and he was like, oh my gosh, can you do this every night? If you can do it in 24 hours, I'll double your rate. And I was just like, say less, bro. Like, one, I loved making this. I would have done it for free, but now you're going to double what you're paying me? Like, so hell yeah. So like every night I did that. And then because of that proactive working and my turnaround time and work ethic, it quickly led to another artist, and more work. And I quickly, once I quit that job, like within 6 months, I was on Justin Bieber's radar. And like it really it took forever to get that break, 15 years. But once that break came, like what I was saying, because I consistently kept making stuff and I did it because I loved it, when my time came, it happened really quickly to get to where people thought like I had overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that exponential growth in that sense, right? Slowly chipping away.
Yeah.
You know, keep making, keep working, and then boom, like you said.
And a lot of it was just like, you know, did it because I loved it, but also I believed in myself. And a lot of people, you know, would say like, dude, that's never going to happen. You're crazy. And like, I believed that I could do it. And I remember when I was finding success, my brother, Ryan, he was just like, man, like pretty much everything you've set your mind to, you've accomplished. And like hearing somebody else say that, like really like reassured me, and it kind of made me aware of, hey, you're right. Like I am doing everything I set my mind to. And now it's like, okay, I want to go do this. And it's like, okay, I'm going to set my mind to it and I am going to accomplish it. Might take me 15 years, might take me 2 weeks, but like in time I will get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you went from DJ Blau, and I know, to Justin Bieber. That's a huge, significant increase as far as awareness, work, the pressure of it as well too. How was that translated? You know, like, was there even a moment in time where you were like, you could like just kind of like let it sink in, or were you just on just like auto and like work?
I was on work, but I think a lot of it was just like every summer I'd go back to that lake and I would, keep making those lake lives for me, and just seeing like my friends and family, like their excitement about what I was doing, because it was so like exciting and new, and like, people like were always asking me about it, and it was just like, it just encouraged me to keep going and all that.
So before Justin, what was who were you working with at the time as well?
So I was working with Blau, and I was also working with an artist, Cruella, and I kind of met them. I was a fan of their music and met like their manager, Nathan. I became friends with him, and I slowly was able to kind of help and just kind of be around that camp. And then they started having me work on some stuff at the same time that I was working with Blau, and it didn't come, like one job didn't come from the other. They just kind of were both at the same time. And so when I was working with Blau, his manager, Ross, that I was telling you about, his roommate was this guy named Michael George, and he was managing a DJ named Martin Garrix. So Michael saw the videos that Ross was showing him, like, yo, look at Blau's like concert last night. And he was just like, that's a good video. It's engaging. I see all the comments. I see the view count. Your artist has 30,000 followers on Instagram. My artist has 6 million followers. Why does your concert look like a more fun time than my recap videos that we're doing? And so he was like, who's doing that? And he was like, Rory Kramer. And so then Michael hit me up and was like, hey, can you do Martin's US shows? And it allowed Martin to save money because he didn't have to fly his videographer over from Amsterdam. So I would do his US shows, and they played a lot of the same festivals, Blau and Martin. So I would do 2 artists one day, make 2 recaps. So now I'm making 4 times that original day rate, because I'm making 2 shooting rates, 2 overnight edit rates. And so now I'm getting exposure from, a global DJ. And around that time, from my personal videos, I get hit up to make the Avicii video. At that time, Michael hit me up. That was Martin's manager. And he was like, hey, would you ever want to work for Justin Bieber? And I was like, yes. And I remember sometime within that previous year, I remember looking at Justin's Instagram and just kind of like, I really saw myself in him. He had bleach blonde hair, kind of the shenanigans he was up to. Like, I was at 30 at the time. I'm 10 years older than Justin. And I remember my 30-year-old self looking at the 20-year-old Justin, and that was literally the Rory that was making the loser videos. I had the bleach blonde hair, and I was doing shenanigans like that. And I was getting in trouble. Like, I was getting sent to the office because of my videos. And so like, I really saw myself in him, and I was just like, oh, I need to work with him, because I'm such a positive influence. And like, I remember I said that to myself, and, maybe I was manifesting it. And then, so when Michael was like, hey, like, would you ever want to work with Justin Bieber? I was like, yeah, that's actually the dream, dude. And so he got me an interview with Justin's team, went in, met them, and I had the meeting with Justin's team the day after the Avicii video came out. And so that was an intimidating like meeting to go into, but because I had that Avicii video, it really gave me the confidence because like Avicii was massive, like a massive artist in 2014 at that time when the video came out. Like that like gave me the reassurance and the confidence to go into that meeting of like, okay, like, yeah, like I knew the artists I was working with, like I did good work, but like, okay, I have Avicii on my resume. Like these people know at least who that is. And like, so going in, I had the confidence, and the two people that interviewed me, they're like, well, we like you. And now you just got to meet Justin. He'll tell you in 30 seconds if he likes you. And I was like, okay, that's intimidating. And long story short, for like 4 months, it was like, can you meet here? Can you meet there? Can you meet here? Can you meet there? And like, I was like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. And I was at Ultra 2015 down in Miami, and I was hired by Blau to shoot his show, and shot his show. I went to the airport, and I was going to fly to Big Sky, Montana with a bunch of my lake life friends and have 10 days of like snow skiing adventure. And I get a call from Nathan, Corella's manager, and he's just like, hey, our videographer can't make it. Can you shoot Corella's set? And I was like, dude, I'm about to go on this vacation. Like, I don't get to see my friends that much now that I'm working all the time. And I was like, and having that me time and personal time and time with my friends really meant a lot to me. And I was like, I wanted to help out, but I also wanted, for my own selfish reasons, go hang out and go on vacation. And I thought, like, because at that performance for Cruella, Jahan and Yasmin, it was their first time singing live. And I knew that they're going to be singing live, and I knew how important that was of a performance for them. And I knew how much they had helped me in my career of like just giving me work, but also like being friends with me and believing and like, yo, your videos are sick. I was like, I need to kind of return the favor. I was like, yeah, I'll leave the airport and, come back and shoot the show. So I shot their show, and as soon as their set was over, Michael George texts me and calls me, and he's like, hey, like, can I pay you to film Martin walking around the festival in case, like, so we have footage? And I was like, yeah. So then I was shooting him, and then Michael's like, yo, Justin Bieber's here. And like, so I was like, still in the back of my mind, like, like, I want to work for Justin. And so I'm on stage with Martin during Skrillex's set, and Skrillex was bringing out Justin to perform Where Are You Now, because that song had just came out, and it was going to be the first live performance of it. And Justin's putting his in-ears in, and he's talking to the woman that interviewed me. And I'm like kind of just like, taking some clips and just like kind of watching, and she just goes like this. And I was like, I think she telepathically told me to film this. I need to film this. And so since I had been on that stage a few days earlier with Blau, I kind of had a sense of, okay, this spot here is right under the DJ booth, but if I go through this curtain, I can get through the video wall now. I can get a shot of the crowd. And so when Justin went out front, I was able to sneak around without being seen, or sneak through and not be seen, but get a shot of him dancing with the crowd in the background. And then when he came back up to the DJ booth, I just turned around, came out of the curtain, and had this angle. And I took the drop from where he was out with the crowd, and the drop from at the end where he's on the DJ decks with Skrillex, like jumping around, since I just took that drop and I interspliced them so they were in sync. And after the show, like, people were like, yo, let's go, like, we're going to 11, like, we're going to this club, like, let's go out. And I was like, I need to go home to my hotel and edit. Yeah. And I went home and I cut again, it was only 15 seconds at the time. I cut a 15-second little clip. I sent it to Michael George. Michael sent it to the woman that interviewed me, Allison. And Michael's screenshotting his and her text back to me. And she's saying, like, is this Rory's video? And I was like, she did see me on that stage. And he was like, yes. She was like, can Justin post this? And he's like, yes. And Justin posted the video. And I remember sitting in that room, like, it just popped up on his Instagram. And I was just like, yo, and at that time I had like a little watermark in the bottom right corner, a Rory Kramer vision. And I was just like freaking out. I was like, yo, Justin Bieber posted my video. Cause like at that time, like anytime an artist posted my video, like it was getting more engagement than I was getting on my YouTube. But now I have Justin Bieber, global superstar. And I was just watching the view count every time I refreshed, just comments, like, oh my God. And I was just like, I did it. I got him to see my work and showcase it.
Yeah.
And so he hit up Allison, was like, yo, who did that video? I want him to do my stuff. And she's like, well, we've been trying to have you meet him for the last 4 months. And so that's how I got to work with Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's crazy. But and it's like what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
it was about doing my time.
Right.
And then when I got my break, it was literally the universe just kind of lining up for me. It was like a lot of just right place at the right time and just believing in myself and saying yes to everything that came in front of me. Because at that time, it was like, I never wanted to go back to that job. So I literally said yes to every job opportunity that people asked, whether it was for $50, $200. It wasn't about the money. It was about like, I don't want to go back to not doing what I'm doing now. And so I said yes to everything because I was like, what if this is the last time someone's going to ask me to do something?
Right.
And so I didn't want that to go away. And so that really made me just work that much harder. Yeah.
And again, because like you're doing freelance this whole time, right? So it's not like you're just like, oh, well, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It's not about that at all. Like you're like, okay, I'm there. You're going, you're following the circuit as well too. And you're partnering with these people to give them the best that you can at that time as well. So it's not like I would say there's consistencies for you in that sense. And that's tough.
It was. And I remember it was a lot. I did a lot in that first year. I had this dry erase board in my like second bedroom, my office of this apartment I was living at. And I like would write down every job and the date of like the artist, the place, and over here I need an invoice for this. And so like I had this like, it was crazy. It was just nonstop of like every weekend, every month, like going here with this person, going here with that person, did this video. I was able to take this footage and turn it into a music video for this or a lyric video for that. And it was really cool. Like, it's really cool to like look back at that, like dry erase board, like a photo of that and just like how much happened. And like,
do you still have it?
Yeah. I have a picture of that dry erase board.
Yeah.
I have a Polaroid of it. And it was crazy to like, I remember like looking and at the bottom on the dry erase board, I think I wrote like, you could still be working that 9 to 5. And like, it was like always looking at that dry erase board was just like a reminder of like, keep going. Like you're doing it. Like,
That's so cool. That must be like super proud, like something like,
yeah,
like.
But you're right. I was proud because there were people that were like there were doubters, and like seeing that was just like, yo, you were right all along. Like you were gonna do these things that you dreamed about, and you said to your friends, like you believed in yourself. You spoke it into existence, and you set your mind to it, and you went after it, and you did it.
Right.
And it's like.
Because it's hard to do the impossible in that sense, right? Because you're like 1% of 1% in that regards, because again, it's like there's not too many people on your level, we'll say, that are creating and working with people in this caliber in that sense at that time as well too.
Thanks. Yeah. Like, again, like it was like a lot of just the timing. It was Instagram introducing this feature to social media becoming what it was. It was just a wildfire.
How much of like social media you say was responsible for your work and as well as just being promoted and also too like being on top of it and being aware of the trends?
I think everything. Like it was, that was the way I showcased my work. It was like verified artists were sharing my work, tagging me. And so it just gave me the validation of when other people like that followed those artists. Okay, Rory Kramer's making this. Okay, so-and-so hired him to make this. Like, I'm going to hire him. Who made that? Like, I'm going to hire him. And so I think it was the best way for me to get exposure at that time, because it was social media was just so, like, it was a free-for-all. It was so new at that time. And because, like, I had been doing that, like, I was making that content for 15 years. It was all like, now, like, that there's a platform that caters to it. It was like what I was saying, like, when it became a thing, I was ready for it.
Yeah.
And now I was just like, oh my gosh, like, finally, here's a way for all this stuff that I've been making to be seen by people. And now, Mason, here's this video of you on your motorcycle cruising the PCH. Like, now you're posting it and you have all these motorcycle guys following you. Then it opens you up to that demographic and that market. And now, like, let's say, like, Ducati wants me to make a video for this person or for our brand. It was just the best way to be exposed by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as you become more of a working professional, or you had been,
So professional.
but your personality and you being Rory Kramer starts to also become more as well, right?
Yeah, a big part of that was the Blau videos. So they wanted to make like a little web series called Blau House episodes. And Ross knew that Justin wasn't really like good at talking on camera, or that wasn't like his strength. But because he saw my YouTube videos, he saw it was my strength, being like, yo, today we're here with Tony and Mason. We're on the Canon podcast. What up? We're going to do this. We're going here. And so Ross was like, you should be in the videos.
Yeah.
So the Blau videos, all the episodes would be like, yo, what up? It's Rory. Today we're going on tour with Justin Blau. We're going here. Run it. And like, that was like my tagline at the time. And then I always started, after I did the intro, it would cut to the stuff that I first picked up a camera to do, like a little prank where I would prank Justin. So that would give the viewer relatability to show, yeah, they see him on stage being this like larger than life guy, but now they seeing him react to being pranked, and they see that they're, they relate to him. And so I was able to take like what I was doing with my personal videos, just apply the same formula to this artist. And then now people are seeing the artist videos that have elements of me and my personal videos into it. So again, it was just embodying what I was doing for myself and my friends now to this artist. And then that, then when it comes time to meet with a production company and pitch a potential TV show idea, I already have like these perfect examples of my TV show.
Yeah. So talk about the MTV show.
So
Your dream.
Yeah,
Talk
the
about the
dream.
dream, right?
So again, Michael George.
Yeah.
So he became my manager for a while, and he was like, yo, you should meet with these guys, this production company called Four Peaks. And they're the guys that had that MTV show, The Buried Life. And I was like, oh, I love The Buried Life. Yeah, like, so I met with them, and they're super cool dudes, and had a great meeting. And one day, Dave or Ben, they texted me, and they were just like, hey, have you ever thought about having a TV show? And I was like, that's the dream, bro. Like, yes, I have.
Yeah.
And so they're like, why don't you come back in and like, let's brainstorm some ideas. So like, that's what they were doing at their production company. They were trying to like, produce TV shows. And they had these relationships with people like MTV because they had a show on MTV. And so I told them this story of when I was in Malaysia with the Chainsmokers, and how I filmed a concert and I was up all night doing the next day recap. and I'm simultaneously on Twitter, like answering like fan questions, because when I was on tour with Chainsmokers at that time, I was getting really big, like my following was getting big because of the Avicii The Nights video. And over in Asia where we were, Avicii is massive over there. And people were coming to the Chainsmokers club show because Rory Kramer from the Avicii The Nights video was there. And so Alex was like, yo, why are all these people like tweeting at us and mentioning like, yo, Rory Kramer's coming? I was like, the Avicii video, dude. And he's like, yo, we're playing that song in our set every night. And when that song comes on, you better be ready to like perform. And so like I would either selfie or hand Alex my camera, and I would like get up and like, you know, like either get on the mic or just hype up the crowd and be the guy from the Avicii video for these people that were coming for me. And so now, and like now these kids are tweeting like, yo, I can't believe I met you, the guy from the Avicii video. And I'm writing back, and this kid's like, you got to go see the Bat Caves. And I'm like, what's the Bat Caves? All right, let's edit this. Okay, the Bat Cave. Now I'm looking up a YouTube video link that he's sending me of Steve Aoki going to the Bat Cave. And I was like, let's go to the Bat Cave. How do we do this? And then I go back here, finish the video. And he's like, I can come pick you up at your hotel. Where are you staying? And I was like, here. And so then I'm going out of the hotel, and this is like one of my first times like out of the country like that. And so I don't have an international plan. So once I go off the Wi-Fi, I won't have service. So I see this kid and his girlfriend pull up in this cab, and I'm like, once I get in that car, like there's no way to reach the Chainsmokers or reach for help. Yeah. And I was like, I could get like kidnapped, murdered. Like, is this a good idea? Yeah. Gotta go see the Bat Caves. Run it. So I get in, and it turned out we go to the Bat Caves at like sunrise, and these monkeys come out, and I'm getting all this crazy footage, and I get back to the hotel like right before it's time to go to the airport, and Alex is like, where have you been? Where'd you see monkeys? I was like, the Bat Caves, bro. He's like, what are the Bat Caves? And I was like, dude, you should have went to the Bat Caves. And so that they were like, that should be the show. Like, what if so we came up with this concept. Like, I do what I'm doing for a living. I go document, the Chainsmokers in, let's say, this city. And then the next day we're going to go on some excursion like you did with the Bat Caves, and you'll take the artists with them. And because like tour life is very much like, everybody thinks it's this amazing thing, and it is, but it's very repetitious in the sense of airport, hotel, venue, back to hotel, back to airport, on to the next. Yeah. You don't really get to experience a lot of the culture, a lot of these Bat Caves of these places. And we were like, what if like the next day in that city, you take an artist to go experience the culture. We'll do two excursions where it gets them out of their comfort zone, out of what they know of like performing, the studio. It gets them out of their comfort zone and allows them their fans to see kind of like what I was doing with Blau in the pranks. Mm-hmm. Like see them react normal to these, oh man, I'm scared to jump off this cliff, or like alligators. Oh, I don't like see them not be these larger than life people that we know them to be. And these artists that look up to them be like, wow, I'm kind of like Slim Jimmy. I'm afraid of animals. And so then it makes them inspired to like, then you hear their stories when we're like, yo, like what was your home like? Like we were like broke. We were living in a condemned house, and it was just trying to make ends meet. And we were spending every little bit of money on recording equipment. And it's like that person that's a fan of them, like, wow, like I'm broke, but they were broke, and look at them now, and like I love their stuff, and they're doing it. I can do that. And it was just like literally the show was like those videos that I was making that I said earlier of like, I made these fun interesting videos, but I had like this moment of vulnerability that the viewer could relate to, that kept them engaged, that inspired them, that opened their eyes to see like, okay, Rory's no different than me. I can do what Rory's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So yeah,
cool.
that was got the show, and
Yeah.
then I was like, told you, Dad.
Another check off the list, right?
Yeah,
You know?
and it was so surreal. It was literally a dream come true, and
Yeah.
grateful for that experience. But it was also very difficult at that time for me because it was all so new for me. And I thought like having the show was gonna change my life. I thought I was gonna become like uber rich and like all my problems were gonna go away, but it didn't. My problems came at me tenfold, and I was super depressed, anxious about the future. Like, what? Like, I don't want to keep doing this. Like, I want to do this, and I want like all my problems to go away. And they all came at me, and I ended up getting in a serious car wreck where I almost lost my life. And that was a rock bottom for me, and it allowed me to kind of see what the bottom was and to see like what I was taking for granted out of life, and to kind of like go back to the drawing board of like, okay, what do I want to do? And just kind of reinvent myself and rediscover my passion for what I was doing. And then that led, to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And just reminding myself like, yo, you're doing what you always wanted to do, and to not get caught up in the money aspect of it, because like it never was about the money. But then I started getting money, and then it was about the money, and I was doing what I loved for the wrong reasons, and it allowed me to get back to the core of why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now, what are you doing what are you doing now then, right? Because you've done, or let me preface this. You've done the TV. You had your own show. You traveled the world, right? How many hundreds, if not thousands, of shows that you've filmed? People that you've met, worked with all these artists. What's your day to day like now?
My day to day like now is when I'm home and I'm not working, I would say 4 to 6 days of the week, I'm going to this state park and searching for wildlife, searching for birds.
I love it.
So now I'm into wildlife photography, and that's just kind of what I was saying about getting back to the core of why I do what I do, because I love it. Right now, I don't get paid to go to the park and shoot bald eagles and hawks and all these animals. Like I've slowly started selling like a photo of this bird for $50, but like I'm not making, like no one's telling me to go out there. No clients being like, we need a bald eagle shot, we need a red-tailed hawk shot. Like I'm doing it because I love what I do. And I've always had a love for animals. Growing up, like I would catch snakes for $1 and get them off the lake property. And I would go turtle hunting. I would bring turtles into my 2nd grade class because Mr. Dobie let me, and loved, like I had a love for animals always. And now it was just kind of like how I really got into how it happened was December of 2022, my wife and I were expecting our first child, our son. And at 21 weeks, she went into preterm labor, and we went in because she wasn't feeling right and had an ultrasound, and they rushed us into the delivery room, and the NICU came in and was like, you're going to have your baby sometime tonight, and there's nothing we can do to save your baby, and it's going to pass away shortly after you give birth to it. So make sure when you have your baby to soak up that time with it, because it's going to go quick and he's going to pass away. And talk about like, your world crumbling and just being like a deer in headlights, no pun intended with the wildlife, but like, we were just blindsided, caught off guard. And it's like, you know, my wife and I were like so looking forward to the coming of our first son and starting a family. Like those were dreams we had.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that like those dreams, they're going to come true, but they're not going to come true in the way you envisioned. And it's going to be short-lived. And it was devastating. Yeah. And, you know, you call your family and your wife's family and tell them what's happening. And it's the hardest phone calls you have to make. And no parent should ever have to, you know, bury their child. And it messed us both up pretty bad. And 12 days later, my dad passed away from cancer that he had been battling for 8 years. And losing my parents from a very young age was a great fear of mine, just because they were so, they were such big inspirations as far as like, just my dad like teaching me about like having a work ethic, about, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and my mom playing in your imagination. Like those people like shaped me into the person I am today and how I got to where I am. And like the idea of losing them was terrifying. And so now like, not only have I lost my dad, but I've lost my son, like trying to, you know, grieve those two of the biggest losses of my life at the same time, but also trying to be there for my wife who's grieving her son. I thought the car wreck was rock bottom. I'm like way deeper of a rock bottom than that. And now it's like, because the car wreck was very self-reflective as far as like a rock bottom. Mm-hmm. It was all like selfish reasons why I was there. And this was very external. Yeah. Other people are involved, and it's not just about you, but you are at the rock bottom. And I share that part of my journey, just like I share everything about my life, like, because I do realize people look up to me or follow me, and, you know, I don't want them to follow me just because I make sick videos or take cool photos. Like, I want to be proud of the person I am just as much as the artist that I am and the work that I create. Like, you know, like one day when I'm dead and gone, I want people to be like, you know, I don't care if they're like, yo, Rory, like, if they were like, yo, Rory's videos were sick, but he was a dick, or, you know, like, that's, I want, when they say my work was sick, to be like, dude, he was a good person. Like, yeah. Dude, Rory, like, that means more to me than like what people think of my work.
That's part of the package, right? That's part of you.
Yeah.
You know, is that vulnerability as well as the excitement, the power, you know, and the draw of it. So, yeah, man, kudos to you. Yeah. You know, and again, it's like, it's tough. It really is to put yourself out there like that, to be vulnerable.
It is. And it's funny that I say, like, I care more what people say about me than my work, because as I'm living and doing it all right now, I don't care what people think of me, but I care how they view my work. And what I mean by that is, like, I put in so much effort, and I dedicate so much to my work. Like, I could take a picture of this bald eagle and you'd be like, oh, it's sick. I'm like, the focus, it's on the feet, not the eye. Like, it's not there. Like, I'm dedicated in my craft, but I have an awareness of who I am that I don't care what you think of me. And that allows me that when people like talk about me, that I'm authentic. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care what you think of me. And I think that allows to be like, you know, I liked Rory because, like, I wasn't fake. I wasn't that, like, you know, like on my Instagram, like, or wherever I put out my work, like my work, I'm so dedicated and like making sure it's so fine tuned that it pleases me. Whereas I'm going to record myself singing Alan Jackson. I'll put that out in a heartbeat without even thinking twice about it, because that's who I am. Mm-hmm. That's who I am. And I know who I am now because I've experienced so much of life that I can be myself and not care. And in return, when people talk about me, they're talking about the authentic me.
Yeah.
But my work, I like have a control over. I can't control what people say about my work. So I care about it so much that it needs to satisfy me before it goes out for people to say, he sucks at this or that. So, yeah.
But I don't think that a lot of people ever say that, though.
So, no, I do get it. And that was something I went through that was very hard.
Yeah.
Especially working with, someone like Justin Bieber. Like, he has such a...
He's got a magnifying glass on him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and therefore there's a magnifying glass on me and my work. And I've read comments where people say like, you should go die and your photos suck and, stay on vacation forever. And you take blurry photos. And then it's like, they're not blurry photos. They're slow shutter photos. It's not a blur. It's like a technique, and it's actually really hard to do. And like that messed me up for a while.
Really?
And then but Justin caught wind of that, and he brought it up to the whole team, and we talked about it, and he and the whole team just reassured me that, I'm gifted and I'm really good at my craft, and that allowed me to not care if someone didn't like my work.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
It's like that is the side effect of, or the negative aspect of social, and just anybody's, it's just like everybody's got an opinion, and sometimes it stinks, right? So, but I mean, that's the thing about you though too, is it's like again, meeting you, and it's like, you are authentic, like you got so much personality, you're just so kind. It's like, for a lot of us, it's just like, again, when we found out that you were partnering with Canon and becoming an ambassador, like we were so hyped, again, because following your career, and for people who truly appreciate you, it's just like, it's such an honor, and it's such a privilege for us to be sitting across from you.
It was a privilege for me to sit across from you. Like, you inspire me, like just your creativity and your knowledge of what you do, inspires me. Very blessed as far as having an awareness of who I am and the experiences that I've had, because it's all shaped me into being who I am, and having the parents that I had, and the family and the friends, because it's all played a part in making me who I am.
Who you are. An incredible person.
Alan Jackson album, Who I Am.
No, but really, again, it's like, I know as I was researching you for being a fan and researching you, it's like I just see this timeline, and again, these themes and stuff of never giving up, working harder than most, and having that tenacity in life, and the appreciation of life, and being of the moment. And I think you really exhibit all of that.
I think that's thank you for saying that. And I think it's something I'm passionate about is my life, and the way I live my life is it's a working body of progress. It's my life's work. My time here, I want to make the most of it. And there's days that's freaking hard where I don't want to get out of bed, and I don't want to go apply myself, and I just want it all to be over. But I am human, and I do have I'm not some superhero or whatever, but so I do I have feelings, and I have bad days just like everyone else, and my bad days are mine, because it's my experience and my perspective, and your bad days and your experiences are yours. And not saying that my bad days are harder than your bad days. They're all bad days and they all have a same sense of, because they're what we experience. You know, me losing a son and you getting fired from your job, not to say one's greater than the other, but I'm the one experiencing it. You're the one experiencing that. So it's just about having compassion for others, and just we do all go through struggles, and yeah.
Absolutely. It's life is tough.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
Life
It is tough, you know?
Yeah. And I don't want to pivot too hard, but because we're well past the hour here. And I
take a long time to tell a story.
No, but I know the story of you buying a Canon camera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I know because of course, and I always say this, since this is a Canon podcast, you know, we do want to plug in not just the gear, but the funny story that how you acquired a certain 5D Mark III.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't my first Canon camera. I had like one of those like camcorders before, but it was my first DSLR. My first DSLR was a 7D. My friend Brandon Parker, he was like, yo, you should get a DSLR. Like, you know, you can really get a depth of field that offers so much different like kind of perspective. And it kind of was intimidating to me because like I didn't know like photo camera, because my camcorder only did video, and like it just kind of like intimidated me. And he was just like, no man, like I'll teach you. And so he was like, you should buy my 7D because I want to get this 5D Mark III. So I buy his 7D, he gets his 5D Mark III, and I was like, I want the 5D Mark III. That thing is sick. Because 7D was a crop sensor. He had the full frame, and it did 1080, 60, and I was just like, okay, now I need that. So I sold the 7D, and I didn't have a lot of money at that time. So, you know, buying, I think it was like $3,800, close to $4,000. Like that was like a serious investment, and I didn't have that kind of cash to just throw out. So I went on Craigslist and I found this post for an unopened 5D Mark III for $3,000. I replied to it, and I'm chatting back with the person, and I'm just like, I hope I don't get ripped off, because yes, if it's legit, I'm saving serious money, but if I get ripped off, this is a lot of money, because like you're not having, you know, the warranty. The warranty is gone, and I'm willing to sacrifice that for like $800 to $1,000 because it was a lot, but I had to have that camera. So they were like, yo, can you meet me at In-N-Out Burger on Sunset here in LA? And so I go there, and I have $3,000 cash in my pocket, and I'm like so antsy, I can't sit still, and I'm like, you know, scanning like what's happening? These two cops pulling the parking lot, and I'm like, oh boy, this is a setup. I'm about to get, but like, I didn't know if what I was doing was illegal, because I assumed that the camera was probably stolen. And the cops, they just were like everybody else, not everybody else, because I was not like everybody else. I wasn't there to eat the burgers. They were there to eat the burgers. I was there to do some illegal activity. So all of a sudden, this car pulls up, and this attractive, tall, skinny Russian woman gets out carrying this 5D Mark III, and I'm like, what the heck? She rolls over and she goes, you Rory? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, here's the camera. Feel free to open it up, check it out. And I like open it, like, and it has the sticker that hasn't like been messed with. Peel that off, open up the camera, put in the battery, fire it up. It says, you know, enter the date, time, and location, or the time zone. And I was like, well, it's legit. And I throw a lens on it, takes a photo, and I was just like, here's $3,000. And it was a legit deal. It was probably stolen. And but anyways, I got the camera, and that camera, that 5D Mark III, was when I started working with Blau, Corella, Martin, Justin, the Avicii video. So much, pretty much all that stuff was shot on that camera. Yeah. And then as new cameras come out, you know, I want the 5D Mark IV, I want the 1DX Mark II. And again, they're expensive cameras from where I'm at in my life. So like I'm putting on my Instagram, like, hey, does anybody want to buy a 5D Mark III? Then my friend hits me up and he's like, yo, my friend wants to buy your 5D Mark III for $1,000. And I was like, okay, bring him over. And so my friend Lucas Taggart brings over this guy, Joseph Shaw, and he comes over as I'm like working on Dreams Die When You Wake Up, also while, you know, trying to produce my TV show. And I'm just like, yo, here's the camera. And Joseph's like, cool, man, love your work. Like, all right, I'll buy it. And I was like, cool. I was like, didn't know who Joseph was at the time. And I was just like, here's the deal. If you ever go to sell it, I get first dibs before you sell it to someone else. Cause like it had that sentimental value and it was hard for me to let go, but I wasn't like rich. So like I needed, like, I knew selling it, like I needed the money, to help like just further my career. And so, 2 years ago, my wife and I bought our first house, and Joseph was in Denver visiting his brother, and he's like, can I stay with you one night? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And when he came over, he goes, oh, I got you a housewarming gift. And I was like, oh yeah, like that, you didn't need to do that. It's very nice of you. And that's the kind of person Joseph is. And he pulls out of his bag my 5D Mark III. And I was like, he goes, I want you to have it back. And I was like, bro. And now it sits on a shelf in our living room. And like, it just, the camera meant so much to me. It's what I built like the foundation of my career on, and so many moments and memories, not only with that camera, but captured on that camera. So to like get that back was like, it meant everything. And I was like, dude, I'll buy it from you. He's like, no, I want you to have it. Yes. And so it was, shout out Joseph Shaw, great person. And like, yeah, so like now that thing is like a little mantelpiece.
Yeah. It's
a
relic.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's the Rory's relic right there.
Yep.
So now that you're living in Colorado, and you mentioned earlier that you're out and you're photographing wildlife.
Yeah.
Right? So what are you using for that?
So I got into wildlife after my son and my dad had passed. My wife and I, we were obviously grieving our son, and my cousin Maureen, her and her husband Tim, they have this amazing place up in Jackson Hole, and they said we could use it for Labor Day of the fall of 2023. And so we went up there, and my cousin Maureen, she texted me and she was like, now like make sure you go up to the Snake River. It's like a couple 100 yards from where we live. Go up there and take a coffee one morning, and you have to go up. It's like so awesome. And be sure to look up. There's a pair of bald eagles that live there. And so I went up there one day, and sure enough, there's these bald eagles. And I ran back, got my R5 and my 70-200, because that was the longest lens I had at the time, and started photographing these bald eagles. And I must have been out there for like hour, 2 hours. And it made me, because there had been times in like my career where it started to feel like work and I really wasn't passionate about it. And like seeing like me be out there for that long of a time and it not really register how long I was out there just made me like feel that passion again for what I love to do. And I got these photos of the eagle, and I printed some out and got it framed for my cousin as like a thank you gift for letting us stay there. And I remember just being so excited to post those photos and share them with my friends and family. And then I was like, I think we're going to need a longer lens here. A little Jaws reference.
Yeah.
So that's where like I started researching the big boys from Canon, and I got myself a 400 2.8. And the reason I went with that over the 600 f4 was because I knew I was getting it for wildlife, but I also wanted to use it at concerts. And the aperture 2.8, I knew that I was going to be able to, because concerts are, not real bright settings sometimes, low light. So I knew having that extra bit of f-stop like would be yeah, I want this for this like little new hobby that I'm doing that doesn't really pay, but I should get this because I could still use it with my line of work, but it can also provide a new perspective of what I've been doing for so long. And so, I mean, you show up with a 400 millimeter at a concert, and you know everybody's just like, "Whoa!" We're like, and especially like most people use those from like front of house. I was in the pit, and my buddy's like, "What are you shooting with that thing?" And like, you know, people are, and then I would show them like I got this photo of Travis Barker's like just his hands with the drumsticks, and I was getting these detailed shots, and it just like, you know, allowed me to find like new perspectives of something I had been doing so long, like over and over, 1535 here in the pit. Now it's like, now I'm like, you know, I'm shooting these like little moments, and it re-inspired me. And so, yeah. So you were saying like, what I use? So my like pretty much every day is my, let me get it out. Typically, it's R5 Mark II, 1535, 50 millimeter, 1.2 prime, 85 prime, 28 to 70, 2.0. It's probably, this lens is like one of my favorite lenses just because the versatility of the 28 to 70. So you get some variety as far as focal lengths, but it's a 2.0. Which it kind of acts as a prime, a zoom prime, which is a great lens. It is very heavy. And then I have the OG EF 24 1.4. This was my first expensive lens.
Oh, yeah?
As you can see, it's got a wristband from a concert because the rubber piece fell off. Like the lens cap barely stays on because of like, it's been, one of the first days I shot with Justin, I grabbed my bag and my bag was open and it flew down this concrete hallway and just bent, so I can't put any like filter or protectors on it, and the lens cap just barely goes on, pops off super easy. But Canon has made an RF 24 that I'm very excited about getting. But this lens, like, it's still one of my favorite go-to lenses. It's so sharp, and just so much of like my tour life was shot on this. Yeah, so I have like a EF to RF converter for it. So yeah, I usually, and then I have one of the OG EF 15 millimeter 2.8 fisheyes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite lenses. It's another one of my first lenses I bought it off Craigslist because I think they stopped making them at that time because Canon made the 8 to 15, and that's a f4. And again, like because of low light, I wanted that extra bit of aperture, the 2.8. And so I got that, and that's one of my favorite lenses, and also one of Justin's favorite lenses. He's always like, "Yo, you got the fisheye?"
yeah.
And so I use that a ton. So I usually keep that in my gear bag. Now it's changed a little bit, like with me taking the 400, because usually the 400 has its own carrying, but then I hate to check a bag, and so I've now sometimes, depending what I'm doing, I'll try to condense my bag with the 400 in it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's fun. Right?
Yeah.
It's like fun to have like these little gadgets and like
Yeah,
tools and stuff.
I'm a 40-year-old kid. I love toys, and yeah, so super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what has it meant for you, you know, as we wrap things up, what has it meant for you to partner and to work with Canon as an ambassador?
It's literally the dream. I mean, to have the support of a camera company that I've been using for so long. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I have used other cameras and other brands. And I started with the Canon DSLRs, then I ventured off. But nothing feels like a Canon body in your hand. And that's why I came back to Canon. And then I started work, like then I became an ambassador, and like to have the support of Canon, like my favorite camera company, and I'm not saying that because like I have to. It's like what I was saying. Like I tried other stuff, but nothing felt like that Canon, and I came back to it because like I think it is important to try other things out and like to see like the difference and to find like why it is a Canon. And I did. I found that, and it's like I've never looked back, and I've never changed since. But to have that support from Canon is so, it's the ultimate. Like it's like if you were a guitar player, having the guitar you use give you support and free gear. It's the best. Camera gear is not cheap. It's expensive. To have someone like let me loan out any gear I want at any time, like it's so sick. It fuels my creativity. It allows me to have access to this and let my friends test it out before. Like it's like test driving a car before you make the purchase. It's like, yo, you want to try out the R3? Like I have it. Like play with it. Okay, yeah, no, dude, I need it. And it's like it's so cool to just be able to like have that support, but also to share it with like my friends or even strangers. It's like the rangefinder, like on the golf course. It's like, yo, here, try it. Because they're like, oh, that's cool. Try it. And it's like, it's cool to be able to give people that exposure to things that they might be interested in, or, they might have questions about it, to be able to share that knowledge. And I think that's where I'm at in my life right now is like, I realize what I've done in my life and my career and the impact I've had. And it's, what is it all worth if I'm not able to share it with the next Rory Kramer or the next generation that wants to do what I'm doing? There's no reason to gatekeep the knowledge. I'm not going to say I'm not going to live forever, but I'm probably not going to live forever.
Probably,
and I want people to continue to document and do what people did before me that inspired me. Like I want to just pass that on and, inspire. And yeah, I want to be as accessible with my knowledge and my experiences as I can.
Yeah. Well, we're super thankful for you to being here.
Yeah.
And yeah, glad for you to be here with us on the show.
Dude,
as
thanks,
well, too,
man. It's you and like I was saying earlier, Mason and Tony, they're great guys. You guys inspire me. Like your energy, and I think I say it to a lot of people. It's not the skill set that's going to take you to where you are. It's the person you are. That will take you further than how good of a video editor or a photographer you are. It's like our friendship has became what it is. Not saying anything about your skill set, but because I enjoy being around you guys. And I think that that's helped me get to where I am, is because these artists enjoy my company. Okay, yeah, he gets the work done, but he's fun to be around. Would you rather hang out with someone that does the best work but sucks as a person? Or would you rather they do a good job and doesn't make me feel like I'm working, and I enjoy their company?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just being a good person and being just true to who you are.
Those are good words to live by.
Yeah,
man. So where can people follow you? Online on the socials.
Yeah, just obviously Instagram is where you will see the most consistent stuff from me on a day-to-day basis, but also my YouTube. Just plug my name into the Google, Rory Kramer. Just toss it up into the Google and just see what comes up. Rory Kramer's Wildlife on Instagram, if you're into wildlife. I started a second page just so I could just be consistent with what I'm capturing and putting stuff out. And if you want to print or whatever, any size, we'll make it happen. Yeah, there. And then that's pretty much it.
All right, cool, man. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my experiences, my stories, to other people that want to hear my stuff or may just randomly find me. And help. I just want to inspire. So thanks for the opportunity. You guys are great people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate
Yeah.
it. Well, folks, thanks again for joining us on this special episode of Canon Unscripted. If you'd like to find out more about Canon, anything in general, go to usa.canon.com and stay tuned. We got a lot more exciting episodes coming up. Till next time, see ya.
Stay strapped. Run it. Now, ironically, now that I'm always dressed in camouflage, I am literally becoming my older brother, Ryan. Rory, why don't you come down here and photograph the deer on my property? Yeah. Anyways, shout out Ryan.